Why do people leave jobs? Well, there are a lot of reasons, right? However, if you do any amount of research, some of the usual suspects will pop up again and again and again. I'm going to talk about 3 of these today. The first being lack of career development, the second one being lack of work-life balance, and the third being management behavior. I'm going to refer to these as departure triggers. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time that you went into an interview and you specifically asked questions about these departure triggers? For most people, they probably haven't. Well, that ends today. In today's video, I'm going to give you specific questions you can ask around all of these departure triggers to make sure you don't step into a bad situation. Let's go. Hi, this is Ben White with Ben Talks Talent. I've got 11 years experience in talent acquisition, recruiting, and hiring, and I am passionate about helping you become a better candidate and land the job. And today, I'm going to use that experience to help you ask the right questions to make sure you don't accept a job you are not going to be happy in. So earlier in the intro of this video, I talked about departure triggers, right? And that's the name I've assigned to things that make people want to leave a role. We specifically talked about a lack of career development. We talked about lack of work-life balance and management behavior. And in today's video, I'm going to give you 6 questions. 3 questions you can ask directly to the hiring manager, and then 3 questions you could ask to the people who are on that hiring manager's team. So your future contemporaries, people you'll be working with on a day-to-day basis, are a gold mine for information. And we're gonna talk about questions you can ask them too. Before I jump in, I wanna talk about asking questions to your future team. Because I know a lot of people will say, well, Ben, those are 3 great questions, thank you. But what if we don't get the opportunity to talk to members of our future team? Or what if we don't get the opportunity to talk to them in private? And that is a valid concern. It's a great question. Let me show you how you can do it. So when you're talking to the hiring manager, this isn't the first interview, right? Maybe it's the second one. So you've built some rapport, you've sold yourself effectively, and you can tell there's a level of interest in you as a candidate. Well, now you have earned the right to ask for a conversation with people of your team, and this is how I suggest you do it. So you go, hey, hiring manager, thank you for taking the time. It's been really great learning from you and hearing about, you, the organization, the role. One of the things that I love to do as a candidate is I really enjoy connecting with members of my future team, just to kind of get their perspective on things. Can you do me a favor? Is there any opportunity for us to arrange a one-on-one call with me and somebody who is a member of the current team? I don't know how you say no to that, right? If somebody asks like that and you're interested in them as a candidate, you want to say yes. Because if you say no as a manager, what are you saying? You're saying, I don't want to accommodate you, or I don't trust my employee to give you information that I wouldn't want you receiving, right? You're basically saying, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I would see that as a red flag. So if they say that, that would be a problem. Most of the time, a hiring manager will say, yeah, sure, because it's a reasonable request. So that's how I would ask it. It's a little bold for some people, but for me, making a career mistake is a huge issue. Joining a company for the wrong reasons, huge issue. And if I can be a little bit bold and avoid it, I'll do it. Let's talk about the first question. So this is a question you ask the hiring manager specifically regarding career development. And this is how I'd say it. I'd say, one of the things that's really important to me in my career is career development. Can you walk me through your process of identifying your employees you want to develop in your team, and then the steps you've taken previously to help them grow their careers? It's a pretty straightforward question, but it's a great question, right? Because you want to know their process. How do you determine who gets that career development? Opportunity is finite. There is not opportunity to grow every single person all the time. So they have to have a process of identifying that person. And then you ask for the specific steps they have taken to specifically grow people. Added bonus here, if you can, look at their team. So if you get invited to an interview panel, look at the people invited to that panel. They're probably people on the team and an HR person. Look at their LinkedIn pages. Have they been promoted? If you look and you see people have been promoted 2-3 times within the organization on this team, that's a good sign. If you look and nobody has, I might take that as a little bit of a red flag, but you definitely want to ask this question. Now, what about the team? So you use the strategy I mentioned sort of at the beginning of this video, and you have a one-on-one call set up. what do you ask the employee to find out if career opportunities and growth and development are available? And this one's pretty simple. I'd say, hey, quick question about career growth and development. Can you describe to me the actions that your manager or the company has taken in the past to grow and develop their people? It's a pretty easy question, but what they say will be very telling. I find that it's easier to ask people on the team, or it's at least easier to get information. They're more willing to say, well, I don't know, they don't do too much, or they've done a really great job. So I'd ask that question. So the next departure trigger I want to talk about is work-life balance. And this is really important, and you'll find there's a pretty significant delta between companies who care about this and don't. So it's important to ask this question. I've had people say to me, Ben, I don't want to ask this question in the past because I don't want them to see me as lazy. And I'm asking the question because I want to take a lot of time off. And I get that concern, but the reality is the last thing I would personally want to do is enter into a company in which they just completely had a healthy disrespect for work-life balance. So I still ask it. And here's how I would ask the question. So I'd say, one of the things about my previous bosses that always impressed me was their commitment to avoiding employee burnout. Can you talk to me about some of the measures your company has taken to safeguard employee well-being? Something like that. You can make it your own and word it however you want, but I like starting it with, I like how some of my past managers did this, because this gives them the opportunity to be like, oh, I'm like that too. I care about my employees. It tees it up for them. And then when you ask the second half of the question, when you talk about what steps have you taken to maintain employee well-being, then they have to reinforce how they care about employee well-being with what steps they've taken or what steps the organization has taken. So it's a great way to ask. So let's talk about the way you ask this to members of your future team, because it's actually quite different. So this next question is a question I like to ask members of the team about work-life balance. And the question is pretty simple, but it gives them an opportunity to be really candid. And it's, if you had to come in late on short notice because of a personal reason, how well would that be received? And the answers you are going to get here are going to tell you everything you need to know about flexibility, about work-life balance, and about how they perceive the occasional, situation where you need to come in late, or you need to leave early, or you need to do something because of a personal situation. It's a great question. If you get an opportunity to talk to members of your future team one-on-one, huge missed opportunity if you don't ask this. The last thing I want to talk about is management behavior. And this is a really straightforward question, but I would ask it every single time. I've asked it in the past. I will ask it in the future. And I ask the person who's going to be my direct supervisor. I go, how would you describe your leadership style? And then I let them talk. What I love about it is it's so open-ended. You ask this question and you just kind of let them word vomit, right? They talk about it. Maybe they'll talk about their influences. That's another way you could do it too. You can say, hey, can you tell me about your influences in terms of your leadership style? What helped you become the leader you are today? Things like that if you want to probe more specifically. But I love asking a really open-end version of this and just letting them talk, because they're going to tell you what matters to them, how they've learned, and how they like to be as a leader. And they're probably going to be pretty accurate. Now, when you ask a member of your future team, I ask a very similar version of this question. I go, hey, how would you describe your boss's leadership style? Because it's like the same thing, except maybe a little bit more candid. And from their perspective, because sometimes people have a view of themselves, but other people have a different, more accurate view of them. So that's one of the reasons why I give you the questions to ask the boss and members of the future team. I think it's so valuable to do it, and I would totally recommend you do it, because getting the two perspectives, especially on this question, I find to be exceedingly valuable. So there you have it. Those are the questions. Let me know in the comments section below which one works best for you. I'd be interested to see which one you're most interested in asking. And then again, and I don't think I said this earlier, but thank you for taking the time to be here and walk through this with me. If you like this video and you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my videos. I drop about 3 or 4 of these a week. And if you're on LinkedIn, go to YouTube after and hit the subscribe button. But thanks for watching. Good luck in your next interview. You've got this.